Ada was very beautiful. Anytime she passed by, she creates confusion due to her beauty. All the men in the community will fix their gaze on her. It was like she used charm that draws men to her. Ada was so beautiful and attractive that it was difficult for any man to resist her beauty. So for this reason, Ada can get any man she wants, whether he is married, about to get married, or still single. She was also very rich, but she has never worked a day in her life. She gets all her bills paid by rich and mighty men all over the country. Some go as far as buying her houses, and others fly her abroad for holidays. But Ada had a secret. She hates men with passion. All the things she did around men was as a result of being a member of an all-woman secret cult, called the Sisterhood of the Light. The horror of her childhood led her into the arms of the secret cult, and since then, the Sisterhood of the Light has been her home and family. The mission of every girl or woman who is a member of Sisterhood of the Light is to look for men with wealth and influence, or men who has a great glory or destiny, and sleep with them. Once they do, they take the man's glory and destiny, and if they like the man, they can use him as a puppet to open doors of wealth for whatever they need. Ada, who has been a member of the secret cult since she was 17 years old, is now 24 years old. Due to her hatred for men, and always wanting them to pay for what they did to her, she has slept with over 400 men, and have destroyed their destinies, so she is ranked number 13 at the Sisterhood of the Light. Ada lived a normal life. She owns a big house with maids and servants, and to all who knew her, the nature of her job involves traveling from city to discover towns and villages that will be developed by her organization, so she travels a lot. But that was a cover for her to look for men with influence and great destinies in every town. Once she finds any, she will see a light glowing at their forehead. The light signifies their destiny. She then goes after them and do everything in her power for the man to sleep with her. Once she is done, she moves to the next man. Her target is 5 men in every community. Then she goes back home to rest and resumes again after a while. One day, as Ada was getting ready to leave her home and travel to a small town, someone told her about. She got a phone call that the number 6 position at her sisterhood was open. The lady that occupied the position passed on, and the request was anyone who could bring in the biggest destiny of men in the next 2 weeks, among the top class level, would occupy the position. She was very happy, because she knew no one could beat her at getting that position. With this information in mind, Ada was determined to work extra hard and win the spot. On her way to the small town, she was already thinking about how she will celebrate her victory. As she arrives at the small town to start her mission, immediately she got down from the car. All eyes were already fixed on her. Her beauty glowed and radiated to everyone that saw her. That same day, in the evening, she left her hotel room to go get drinks at the bar. A rich man walked up to her and introduced himself. He was willing to buy her anything she wanted. As she looked at his forehead, the man's light wasn't so bright, but Ada was on a mission to win the number 6 position, so she started flirting with him. Ada spent the night at the rich man's hotel room, and the rest was history. The next day, in the afternoon, she took a walk to look around the small town, just to see what it looked like. As she walked, a lot of men were coming to her, trying to speak with her, but they had nothing she wanted, so she decided to go into the market. As she was walking into the market, all eyes were on her, both men and women. A well-known man in the town joined her as she was walking down the street. He introduced himself as Ola. He was a businessman and owns most of the shops in the market, including the shopping mall in the market. Ola was a very arrogant man and his light was bright, so she was happy talking with him. As they walked, she stopped to get some orange and Ola offered to pay for anything she wanted in the market. As she collected the orange, she looked at the orange seller and saw a kind of light she has never seen before in her life. Ada was so shocked, she lost control and stared at the orange seller. It was like she was given a dose, a taste of her own medicine. The way men looked at her was exactly how she looked at this orange seller, but the orange seller never took note of her or even noticed her beauty. This made her confused for the first time in her life. Has Ada finally met her match? Ola, who noticed her reaction, was not happy, so we quickly cut in to get her attention, and they continued walking. That night, Ada couldn't go home with Ola. She did not understand what just happened, or the meaning of the kind of light she had just seen, so Ola dropped her off at her hotel and promised to check on her the next day. That night, Ada couldn't sleep. She couldn't get her mind off the orange seller. As she tossed and turned on the bed, her mind was filled with thoughts. How could an ordinary orange seller have such a bright shining light, brighter than anything she has ever seen before? After trying for a while and couldn't fall asleep, she called her superior from the Sisterhood of Light to find out what kind of light the orange seller was carrying. She was told that it is an alpha light. Her superior told her, if she can sleep with him, it will cover for all the men she needed to get the number 6 position. Ada was very happy with the news, but for the first time, confused. The next morning, Ada got ready. She looked as sexy and attractive as she could. Then she went straight to the market to look for the orange seller. As she walked down the street, for the first time, Ada didn't notice any man staring at her. Her mind was occupied with the orange seller. When she saw him, she asked his name, and he told her his name was Mona. Mona was tall, muscular, dark, and handsome. All the people in the market loved him. Both the young and old sang praise about him, but mainly, the ladies were attracted to him, but he never shows any interest in anyone, just minding his business. Mona was also very respectful and well spoken about by everyone in the market and in the community. According to the people, he was the most generous, kind-hearted man that ever lived. As Ada looked at him, his light was so bright she couldn't help but gaze into his eyes. For the first time, she was lost for words, so Mona asked her, "Madam, do you want to buy oranges? How can I help you?" As he spoke, he had a soft, gentle voice that could melt the heart of anyone. No wonder the whole community sang his praise. Then Ada realized that he didn't find her attractive. This was the first time a man never commented on her beauty, so it was now very obvious that Ada has found her match. But she was determined to bring him down and gain her prize. So she told him she is new in the community, that she came for a research and she needed a person that would show her around the town. And from what people says about him, she knows he's a good man, so she asked if he could be her guide around the community. Mona agreed but said it will be after work, that he has a lot of people he helps around the market. Ada added that she will pay him well for his time, but Mona rejected her money and said he will help her, but everything is not about money, so they planned to meet that evening and Ada left and went back to her hotel. As she got to her hotel room and opened the door, she found gifts all over her room. Ola had visited and left the gifts and a note that read, "To the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. Please manage this, as a token of my appreciation." Ada smiled and said, she is not interested in him. Her mind and focus were set on Mona the orange seller. She really wanted to know how he could have such a bright light and still sell oranges. That evening, she met with Mona as they moved around the community. She tried to work her way into his heart, but Mona didn't notice her at all. This made her very uncomfortable because no man has ever resisted her before. It was usually the men throwing themselves at her. As the day got darker, she offered to buy him food, and they went to eat in a restaurant. Ada asked him about his family and relationships, but Mona said he was an orphan. He was found on the doorstep of an orphanage home in that community, and that was where he grew up, so he made it a point of duty to help everyone that comes into the orphanage home, by selling to support whoever he can. As for relationship, Mona said he has no time for that for the meantime. A week passed and Ada got rid of Ola, who was pestering her around. She grew more interested in Mona, but by now, they had become friends. She had made several attempts to seduce Mona, but he was just a gentleman who couldn't take advantage of a woman. One evening, Ada invited Mona to meet her at the bar that is in her hotel building. While they were there, Ada acted like she was drunk, so Mona had to help her get to her room. She almost went naked thinking that, if Mona saw her body, he will fall for her, but Muna rushed out of the room immediately. He laid her down on the bed. She was very angry. She went and stood in front of the mirror and stared at her reflection, and for the first time, she questioned herself. She knew she was still beautiful and attractive because all the other men in the community are running towards her. After staring at the mirror for a while, she asked herself, what is wrong with this man? Then she came up with a plan to drug him and rape him instead. She made up her mind that whatever it takes, she will bring him down. She will never lose the opportunity to become number 6 in the Sisterhood of Light. That night, she wore her secret cut cloths and started her occultic prayers. The next day, she apologized to Mona for getting drunk and misbehaving. Then she promised it would never happen again. Mona was not happy with her, so she offered to buy him lunch so they can make peace. But Mona refused and offered to invite her over to his place and cook for them to eat at his place. Ada was excited. Later that evening, as she visited Muna's house and they sat to eat, Ada placed a charm in Muna's food. He ate and fell into deep sleep. She quickly took him to the bedroom and undressed him. She took out her bracelet from her handbag. Anytime a girl or lady from the Sisterhood of Light wants to have sex with a man and take his greatness or destiny, they must wear that bracelet during sex. As she wore the bracelet and came close to Mona, who was lying peacefully on the bed in a deep sleep, as she looked at him, she couldn't get herself to do it. She realized that she has fallen in love with Mona. Tears came down her eyes. She has never felt this way before. Her hatred for men had fueled her actions for many years. But this man is the kindest man she has ever met, and he has never treated her like a sex object. But he has looked out for her genuinely. Ada could not bring herself to sleep with Mona. She left him there on the bed and went back to her hotel room. The next day, later in the afternoon, Ada went to check on Mona, but he was not at work. She asked about him and was told he never came to work that day. Ada became scared. Maybe something had happened to Mona from the drug she placed in his drink, so she hurried to his house. She found Mona in the house sick. Mona shouted at her and called her all kinds of names. Ada was trying to explain, but Mona didn't want to hear anything. He claimed she tried to kill him and asked her to leave his house and never look for him again.